Hello, and thank you for joining us. The reason why you're here this morning is because you are looking for cleaning efficiencies in your operation. You're looking for ways of doing things in a more cost-effective way, and you're looking to provide better value for your clients. My name is Everard Painter, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can do that without cutting corners and without compromising quality. So we're going to be talking about the cleaning pie, but before we get to that, I want you to discuss and get a clearer understanding of the job description, getting a handle of the job on hand, which is so important. Just picture for a moment that you're a pest exterminator. You're going to want to have a good understanding of the pests that you are eradicating, the difference between a cockroach and a rat, for instance, and a snake and an Indian miner. You're going to also want to have a good understanding of the tools that you have on hand, such as your traps and your sprays and your sleeping darts, etc. And you're going to want to have a good understanding of what's required where those pests are. It's going to be a very different matter if you're removing an Indian miner from somebody's bathroom as opposed to the attic, for instance. Otherwise, you're going to be in a situation where you're going to be killing a cockroach with a shotgun off somebody's bathroom mirror. So for us, it is a very different scenario. In the cleaning world, the aspects are a lot less defined. And what we have got there is the substrates and the cleaning supplies and the soiling. So for us, the pests are the soiling. The tools to eradicate the pests are our cleaning supplies. And then we have the substrates. This is where we're removing those pests from. So soiling is a very, very important aspect you get a handle on, as is substrates and is your cleaning supplies. I've got a few points down there on the screen which are worthwhile taking note of. In terms of your substrates, it is so important to have a clear understanding of what you have on hand. Carpets, fabrics, natural stone, tiles, metals, plastics, they all react differently, both to the soils themselves, as well as the cleaning chemistries and as the processes. A clear, successful operation in removing them. So you need to know, first of all, how to accurately identify them. Does your team know as to how to distinguish between a wool carpet and a synthetic carpet, for instance, or a natural stone and a man-made tile? The difference between the different forms of plastics, that can also make a huge difference. Then we need to know the strength and weaknesses of those substrates and how chemicals and temperatures and abrasion, agitation can affect them, and have an understanding of their characteristics and their porosity, for instance. We know, for instance, in relation to polypropylene carpets, they have a greater affinity for oily soils than a wool carpet. These things are all very important to get an understanding of if you want to have a very successful ability at removing soils. Then we need to have an understanding of soiling, and this goes back to our previous webinar, which is I'd recommend that you go back and have a look at the recording of it if you weren't able to attend. But to know whether you're talking about organic and inorganic soils or oil-based soiling, staining agents, and then know their key composition and their characteristics. Do they have an acidic pH? Do they have an alkaline pH? How are they going to respond to the various chemicals that you have in your arsenal, in your inventory? And know what type of location will typically have what type of soils. For instance, where we have water, we'll typically have inorganic soils. Where we have a lot of people and human activity, animal activity, we'll typically have organic soils. This will give you a good guideline as to what type of chemistries you're going to need to remove them. And then know what chemistry and cleaning process is effective on what soil type. And then lastly, to have a clear understanding of the cleaning supplies that you have on hand. First up is the chemicals. You need to have a basic understanding of what the limitations and the strengths of each chemical is. For instance, do you know every chemical in your range as to whether it is an alkaline chemical or is it an acidic chemical? Is it a neutral chemical? Does it contain solvents? And then understanding the cleaning machinery and the cleaning accessories that you have as well, the auto scrubbers, the high pressure washers, etc. This all goes towards a complete whole understanding of knowing your job on hand. So before you get into a job, and it's a great idea when you're approaching a new job especially, or having difficulties in a job, is to have a look at these three factors with your team. The substrates, do we have a handle on what they are? The soiling, do we have a handle on what the soiling is? our cleaning supplies? Do we know the potential, the strengths and weaknesses of our cleaning supplies that we have on hand? So once we have an understanding of the job on hand, then we can understand the cleaning process. Now, there's many items that were used in the cleaning process. We have on the screen there hot solutions, reaction times, no chemical cleaning or low pH cleaning or high pH cleaning, bleachers, using a rotary scrubbing brush. How are we going to organize these and get an understanding of each one of these to enable to be able to use them to their best effect, to their best potential? So first of all, let's talk about temperature. We can isolate three of those things: cold wash, hot solution, ambient temperatures, temperatures into the temperature section. Then we have our agitation, the various types of scrubbing and high pressure washing, whatever it is. Then we are going to have the time sector. And then finally, we have our chemicals, which really should have come first. But in terms of this, we have here what we refer to as the cleaning pie. These are the four factors, these are the four aspects that go into cleaning. It's also known as the Sinner's circle, simply related back to the chemist that actually came up with this theory that four aspects go into every single cleaning operation. And they are agitation, chemical, temperature, and time. So we need to maximize all four of these components for effective cleaning. If one or more of these components are less, then the other components must increase to compensate for it. So just take everything from washing your hair in the shower to cleaning dishes through the dishwasher to washing your car. If you ever think about it, every single one of those four aspects are involved in it. Agitation, we all know that we scrub our hair when we put the shampoo on, which is the chemical. Temperature, we have warm water, works a lot better than cold water. And time, we leave it on there to dwell for 3, 4, 5 minutes to give best effect on removing all the oils and greases. And that can be applied right through, whether you're talking about the dishwasher and the cars we've mentioned. Just think about it. We have to have every single one of those four components for effective cleaning. So if one of them is less, let's say agitation, we don't have the opportunity for a good scrub, for instance, one of the other components will have to increase. In this case, we've increased the chemical. So it's not necessarily just a matter of putting more chemical into the mix, but maybe using a higher performance chemical. And then if our time is low, which is very often found with our cleaning machines, auto scrubbers, carpet cleaning machines, time is very much minimized. So then it makes things like agitation or the chemical efficacy or the temperature much more important. When you are not coming good on a job or wanting to make the job more efficient, you need to have a look at each one of those applications on their own and see as to whether you're maximizing each of them. So let's have a look at each one on its own. First of all, we have the temperature. Now, temperature is very important, and particularly when we combine it with chemicals. A significant increase in molecular chemical activity of your cleaning solution is found with the increase in temperature. There's various other things relating to temperature. One is that it softens fats, oils, greases, and organic soils in particular. So this is elevated temperatures. But elevated temperatures isn't the whole story. So I wanted to just cover off on a couple of key points that we need to understand in relation to temperature. These are that warm or hot solutions may dry too quickly, leaving you with a dry chemical solution on the surface, which gives you double trouble. High heat can also damage some substrates. Hot solutions will damage many auto scrubbers. Enzyme solutions work best at warm, not hot. In other words, around about a 55 degrees centigrade, not over 65 degrees. Powdered oxidizers work best in hot solutions. And going down to point 8, hydrogen peroxide also works best in a hot solution. Chlorine, however, works best in cool water. And then the other thing to remember that many housewives will tell you is that hot solutions may set blood, egg, and other protein stains. So it's not just a matter of the hotter the better, it's a matter of having an understanding of how temperature affects the cleaning process. Now, I've done a little experiment there on the right-hand side where we have a soiled plate, which is soiled with a lard oil mix. We're going to use TNG Cleaner LF as our cleaning solution. And then we have 2 beakers at the front there, which is hot and cold water on their own. And then the 2 rear ones are hot and cold solution. So at the beginning, we're going to run over the soiled plate just plain cold water, and we see how poor its wetting efficiency is, the surface tension. Then Then we have the hot water, which we might have thought would have worked better, but it certainly makes a difference. But on its own, it doesn't work that much better. Now we have the cold cleaning solution, the TNG Cleaner LF, and immediately you'll notice that the wetting is that much better. And then we use the hot cleaning solution. Now, on a hot cleaning solution, you'll notice immediately the chemical efficacy is significantly improved. We're immediately seeing a better reaction of the chemical with the surface. And then when we rinse it, we're clearly getting a much better result. So if you have a look at the cold water on the far left-hand side versus the middle one, which is just the cold water with the cleaning chemical, you can see the benefit we have with adding the TNG Cleaner LF to the solution. Then you can see the added benefit we get of activating that chemical, getting it to work that much faster, as well as softening the oils and grease and lard that's on that soiled plate, and we get a cleaning result much faster on the right-hand side. So having a look at the next aspect, which is time. Dwell time allows chemical solution reaction time. Very important. Typically, the longer the dwell time, the better. However, do not allow the solution to dry on the surface. Many people ask me, what is the ideal dwell time? Well, I say 10 minutes. 10 minutes simply because you've given your chemical a good time to react, but also it typically does not long enough to allow the surface to dry. Of course, if you're soaking a solution, you can certainly leave it, as many people do in laundries and kitchens, overnight. There are other opportunities to leave it longer, but typically in cleaning, 10 minutes is good. In carpet cleaning, in tile cleaning, in stone cleaning, it often allows the operator to apply chemical to an area and then move to another area while the dwell time is occurring on that first application. Where dwell time is really critical is in relation to disinfectants, because it all goes back to how the disinfectant is designed. If it says that the dwell time has to be 2 minutes, well, it mustn't be less than 2 minutes. Otherwise, we are unlikely to have killed all the germs, all the pathogens, and we have a false sense of security, thinking that we've disinfected that area. In fact, we possibly haven't. Now, remember that many cleaning machines, processes use very low dwell time. So it puts the focus much more back on agitation, temperature, and chemical action. On the right-hand side is a plate very similar to the one we saw in the previous slide. This was a second experiment that we did in the laboratory on here, where we allowed a much longer dwell time. And notice on the first one, we rinsed it off almost immediately. Here, we left this for 5 minutes. So you'll notice that the cleaning line, second from the right, is our cold cleaning TNG Cleaner LF. The dwell time has almost enabled it to be nearly as good as the elevated temperature one on the far right-hand side. So there you can see the benefit that the dwell time has given us. So if we move across onto chemical, and this is a very critical area, and this is where we find a lot of errors and a lot of costly mistakes are made because the chemicals that we use are not clearly understood. One is that we must match the chemistry to the soiling. That means that we need to have an understanding of our soiling, going back to those 3 aspects we talked about earlier in relation to understanding the job on hand, the job description. If it's an organic soil, we know that it's a acidic soil, therefore we use an alkaline cleaning solution. Vice versa if it's inorganic. So we need to have a clear understanding of what the chemicals are that we're using. Are they acidic? Are they alkaline? Are they strongly alkaline? Are they strongly acidic? Are they neutral? We need to be able to match that to the soil. And the picture I've got on the right-hand side is actually a picture we took at a job that we went out to a couple of years ago outside a restaurant. This particular cleaner had severe issues with this area, painted concrete area around where the chairs were, with the soiling. We inquired as to what cleaners he had been using. He had used several cleaners together with high-pressure washer without any clear results. All 3 of the products that he had tried were acidic cleaners. So we had a look at it. People activity, human activity, food activity, these must be organic soils. They're acidic, so we used an alkaline cleaner. In actual fact, this is a TNG Cleaner LF that we used in our previous experiment. And this is a result we got absolutely immediately. We hardly even needed to do any scrubbing. It was just simply a matter of using the correct chemistry for the correct soiling. Now, the other very important aspect of understanding your chemistry is to prevent substrate damage. You don't want to be using an acid on a natural stone surface, for instance, or be using a high alkaline product on a wool carpet, or worse, using a bleach on a carpet, a chlorine bleach on a carpet. You need to match the chemistry to the equipment type too. You don't want to be sitting in a situation where you're using a high foaming product through an auto scrubber or some form of extraction machine, and matching the chemistry to the cleaning process where you could leave residues on the surface. And using the correct dilutions and methods, very, very important. And lastly, the quality of the chemicals provide quality cleaning. Remember that your chemicals are your lowest cost portion of your cleaning operation, and yet they impact the success of the entire job. It's very important to use chemicals that work and that are able to give you the success you require for that job. Lastly, we have a look at the agitation. And the agitation is simply to loosen embedded soils. Probably the two key things about agitation is that it loosens embedded soils, remembering that 80% of your soiling in many applications is in fact non-soluble in water and non-soluble in solvents either. So you need to actually physically loosen it with a brush, with a pad, and then enables to be flushed away with the rest of the cleaning process. It also spreads the cleaning solution, and it also, most importantly, brings fresh cleaning solutions in contact with fresh soiling, especially when soil buildups. Now, one of the parts of agitation that I want to really remind you is incredibly important is choosing your agitation type. Now, cloths and sponges we'll cover off briefly, used on smooth surfaces for light soiling, spray and wipe applications. But what I want to get down to is those next three: cleaning pads, scrubbing brushes, and high pressure washers. Now, cleaning pads are much, much more efficient on smooth surfaces. Had an application recently where somebody was trying to remove tire marks, car tire marks off a car showroom floor. Shiny, smooth porcelain tiles. They tried 4 or 5 different cleaning solutions, quite frankly, all the correct solutions too, but they weren't achieving any results. On making inquiry, we found out that they were using a brush. They hadn't used a pad. We suggested the use of a pad. In this case, it was a blue scrubbing pad, and the tire marks came off immediately with those same solutions. So very, very important to make sure that you use a non-scratch scouring pad or floor maintenance pad on smooth surfaces. You'll get much, much better results than you will get with a brush. However, on a tiled floor, for instance, you may have to use a brush. In this case, on the right-hand side of the picture there, where you have got an undulating floor or your grout lines are the issue. Scrubbing brushes on the bottom of machines or by hand are much more effective on textured or undulating surfaces and are very invaluable in that application. Where you have got those situations and you're not getting good results out of a planetary brush, try a rotary brush. Often you can get better results by swapping the type of brush that you use. And then lastly, the high pressure washer. So on the high pressure washer, this is where I think there's a lot of overplay in the industry in relation to high pressure washers. Typically, the more dirty, the tougher the soil, increase the pressure on the high pressure washer. And this is where damage to substrates happens, especially on natural stone, especially on grout lines. High pressure washers don't actually clean very efficiently compared with agitation and chemical on smooth surfaces effectively, even on carpets and even on outdoor textured porous surfaces. You will get much, much better results using a brush with the aid of chemical instead of just blasting your way through with a high pressure clean. I have a video on the next slide which clearly demonstrates this. Here we have a retaining wall where we've done a bit of a trial on using a high pressure washer only on the right hand side. This is a 3000 psi high pressure washer, as opposed to spraying this wall which had severe mold growth on it with the mold exterminator. So that's our chemical portion that we're using there. And then we will rinse it off with the high pressure washer. But notice how much further we're able to stand away from the wall with the high pressure washer when we get to that point, as opposed to how close we're using the high pressure washer on the right hand side. So we're using the high pressure washer on the right hand side, probably about 150 mils away from the wall, possibly creating damage, especially if it's a sandstone or limestone wall. On the left-hand side, we're able to use that rinsing function where we're standing further back with the high pressure washer, cleaning a much larger area, and the wall is coming much cleaner as a result of the chemical action. Now, on the left-hand side, we've finished the job. We're still running through the high pressure washer on the right-hand side, cleaning each individual spot of mold off that wall. Now, the interesting thing is that we're already up to over a minute longer by using a high pressure washer only. So clearly we've already gained an advantage time-wise. But if we have a look at the final results, and this is where you can add much better value to your client's job, is that the fact of the matter is that the left-hand side of the wall is much cleaner than the right-hand side. So brings us to the end of our discussion as to the cleaning process and our cleaning pie, and then having a very clear handle on the job description. I trust that helps. I trust that it will enable you to provide better value to your clients, provide you cost efficiencies in your business, and provide greater efficiencies throughout your operations. Thank you very much.